baby girl. How are you? Did you get born today? A few hours ago? She's got lots of dark hair. She's thinking about all sorts of things. I just want you to know that your voice makes my heart stop.
Welcome back to my channel. Have I got a story for you today? I want to share my complete and full, detailed TMI birth story with you. I watched so many of these when I was pregnant, and they really prepared me to have the type of birth that I really wanted. So sit back, go get a cup of coffee or tea, and come along for my birth story. Just a disclaimer, I'm still processing this whole birth thing. They made a joke at the hospital that I was the stoic mother because I had a very stoic, like, blank face. So if I act like I'm bored or uninterested in this video, it's because I'm still processing it. I still can barely believe that it's even happened almost. My baby is 3 weeks. My baby is 3 weeks old now, and it's just like, I just can't believe that it happened. I don't know. In my last video, I told you a little bit about how I was feeling sick before my 38-week appointment. I was having headache, nausea, and on June the 21st, the day of my 38-week appointment, I had a fainting spell. And I was reaching up to get something in my cabinet. I had a moment of like blacking out and lost the ability to stand. So I caught myself on the counter. So when I had the fainting spell, I wanted to check my blood pressure because I knew that it'd been high throughout the pregnancy, but I was unable to do that because my blood pressure cuff wasn't working. It was just horrible timing. However, I was about to go to my 38-week appointment, so I just decided to go there and have my blood pressure checked there. When my husband came to pick me up, he said, okay, should I pack our bags? Should I get everything packed? And I was like, honey, why are you saying that? Like, I'm not gonna have the baby today. I'm not even having contractions. Like, we do not need our stuff. Little did I know. He must have had like a little angel in his ear saying, hey, you should bring your stuff. But anyway, I said no, and he didn't, because for some reason I thought that you can't have babies without contractions, you know, like I just had this all planned in my head how it was gonna go. So we drive to my OB office, and the first thing they do when you get there is they take your vital signs. They took my blood pressure, and it was 148/109. Unless you're like a medical professional, you probably don't know that that's a very high blood pressure, and it's not safe for the mommy or the baby while you are pregnant. So immediately my doctor was like, KRISTEENA, you're not going to your regular appointment today. I'm not even gonna check anything here with you. You're going straight over to the hospital. And she was like very nonchalant about it. She's like, we're probably gonna need a 24-hour urine output, and we'll do a little stress test on you and the baby, and then you'll be sent home like in an hour. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. So Caleb and I got in the car and we drove over to the hospital. It's only like a 2-minute drive from my OB's office. So we arrived at the hospital, and I had been to the hospital, I think, in my 33rd week, so I knew how it worked. You check in, you tell them you're here for labor and delivery, and someone comes down with a wheelchair and they take you up to labor and delivery. So I got up to labor and delivery, I got all checked in. They have you take off your clothes, put on a gown, basically prepare in case you are actually admitted. So I got in my gown, and they attached the monitors on my belly. The monitors track contractions, and they also track the baby's heart rate. And they attached a blood pressure cuff because they were monitoring my blood pressure through this all. So my blood pressure did stay elevated. It would go down when I would rest, but it would shoot way back up when I would move around at all. So it was very positional. Like, I had to lay on my left side in order for my blood pressure to be okay. Then they monitored the contractions and the heart rate, and I was having like I think they said I had like 1 or 2 contractions in the whole hour. About 30 minutes in, my nurse, her name is Laura, by the way, and Laura is an angel from heaven. She was amazing. But Laura, who has my exact same birthday, she's turning 35 and I'm turning 30 this week actually. Cool, it's my birthday. But anyway, Laura came in and she was like, okay, it's been about 30 minutes. Like, baby looks great. Your blood pressure is a little bit iffy, but we're probably gonna do the 24-hour urine on you. Just stay tight though, because we wanna do 30 more minutes. Just make sure that everything's okay. So I was like all excited and I was like ready to go home because those triage beds are not comfortable. They're not fun, especially when you're huge and pregnant. Everything hurts. So I text all my friends and I text everybody on like false alarm, like everything's fine, just keep praying because my blood pressure is like a little bit iffy. 30 more minutes go by and Laura comes in and she says, your doctor's here, so don't worry, I'm gonna ask her like right away, but the baby is having some decelerations in her heart rate and she had 2 in the last 30 minutes. Each deceleration is 3 minutes long and her heart rate goes down to the 80s and 90s, which is a sign that the baby is in distress. I need to show your doctor this and then we can ask her what she wants to do next. I just had to like be like, I don't know. I just had to say, okay, well, I'm in the right place. Like, if there's something wrong, like I'm in the exact right place I need to be. So my doctor looked at the strip, like, of her heart rate going down, and my doctor came in to meet me. She said, okay, KRISTEENA, we're gonna do a biophysical profile, which is an ultrasound, which basically will show us the health of the baby and what's going on with the baby. So I said, okay, sounds great. Maybe I'll get to see her face. I was really excited. The doctor did check me at this point. No, scratch that. Doctor didn't check me yet. So then the ultrasound tech came in and she's moving around on the ultrasound. I asked, hey, can we get like a profile picture? Like, I want to see the baby's face. And she's like, no, actually the baby's too big right now. Can't do that. Anyway, this is when I kind of start to worry because she asked me, she's like, does your baby move? Like, do you notice your baby moving throughout the day? And I said, yeah, I think so, usually. And she said, I'm having a really hard time getting her to respond. And that was when I was like, oh my gosh, it's getting scary. Like, okay. After that, I kind of knew like things were going south. Like they were not, I was probably not going to get out of the hospital. I just had a feeling. Then my doctor comes in and she tells me the result of the BPP, the biophysical profile ultrasound, that the baby scored a 6 out of 10. The baby wasn't like moving enough and the positioning of the baby was off, and it basically showed that the baby was probably in distress. My doctor said, you're gonna have a baby today. Whoa. When she said that, I cried, like, because I didn't really want to be induced. It wasn't in my head like the plan that I wanted. And my husband was like extremely happy. He was like smiling and giving me kisses and so excited. And I was like looking at him like, why are you happy? Like, our baby is in distress and I have to give birth right now. Like, I was just like really confused. Like, why are you so happy? But he was just excited. He was excited to be like a dad and see our daughter in person. Oh my gosh, those dogs. At that point, the doctor did check my cervix and I was 1.5 centimeters dilated and 70% effaced. Laura, my nurse, said that that's actually a good place to start. It's a much better place to start than like 0% dilated. So she was actually like positive about it. I did speak with Laura and I told her my like birth dream was to have an all natural labor, no medicine, no epidural. And she was just super positive and she was like, okay, well, I believe you can do it. Like, you're cool, calm, collected. You're an older mom. I just really think that you can do it. And that really meant a lot to have her like rooting for me. It was about 1 p.m. on June 21st. And they said, and Laura said to my husband, go get her some food because she's gonna have her last meal now. So I sent my husband to Sir Chiro's, and Sir Chiro's is a, like, I think it's like a Georgia only restaurant. It's kind of like Chipotle, but I just wanted something with beans. I just wanted something with beans in case I had a hard time going to the bathroom like after labor. I don't know, I had read a lot, you know. I'd read too much probably. He probably called me like about 3 times like asking, what did you want again? What did you want again? Because he was like so excited. Like everything I said just went like straight through him because he couldn't concentrate. He was just really excited. And I was just kind of like, I was excited, but I was like zoned out. Like I knew that it was going to be like a long haul ahead of me. So he brought me back food and I scarfed it down. And then he had to leave again because my dad was coming into town, and my husband's military and we live on a military base. So there was no way that my dad could get like to the house and put his stuff up unless my husband went and sponsored him onto the base and got him into our house. My dad was arriving that day and my mom had come the day before. After we ate, I said, okay, bye, I love you. And then the nurse got the Cervidil out. So with induction, there's 2 medications usually they give. The first is Cervidil, and it ripens the cervix, and it can also cause some contractions and dilation with some people, but it's meant to ripen the cervix and prepare for labor. And the second induction medication is called Pitocin, which is a synthetic form of oxytocin, and it creates the contractions that dilate your cervix so that you can push that baby out. So the nurse came in and inserted the Cervidil. I was having a hard time concentrating on, honestly, but it kind of reminded me of like a tampon, but they have to like shove it like way up. So she inserts the Cervidil and I'm completely alone. My husband's gone. And then my whole world kind of like fell apart. So this is the scariest thing. This is one of the scariest things that has ever happened to me. And it wasn't really to me, it was to the baby, to Olivia. So they insert the Cervidil and almost immediately she's having like bad reactions. So I was alone in the room and I can hear her heartbeat and everything, and I'm hearing it go lower and lower and lower and lower, and it's not like stopping. Like it goes on for a long time and it goes down. Like I'm seeing like 60s, 70s, and nobody is coming in the room. And I'm yelling, like I'm literally like yelling at my daughter, like, Olivia, get your heart rate up in Jesus' name. Like get your heart rate up. Like I'm yelling at her to get her heart rate up. And in the middle of me like freaking out, yelling at my unborn daughter, my nurse runs in, literally like opens my legs and pulls out the Cervidil like as quickly as she can, and then she throws oxygen on my mouth and she starts moving my body around so that Olivia's heart rate will go up. It does come up, like Olivia recovers, but it was terrifying. So again, my doctor comes in and she says, well, KRISTEENA, your baby cannot tolerate labor. Cervidil is more mild than Pitocin. Like, so I just don't want to risk it. I'm going to set you up for a scheduled C-section. That's what I feel most comfortable with. I don't want to put your baby under any more distress. At this point, I was so terrified that I was just like, I don't care. Get this baby out. Like, this baby's not doing well. Like, I'm freaked out. I'm just going to place it in God's hands. Whatever happens, happens. And I said, I trust you 100%. Okay, let's plan for a C-section. So that's what we did. We started planning for a C-section. I filled out all the paperwork for it. I signed all the papers and I prepared for a C-section. It was scheduled for 7 a.m. that morning. The reason they didn't do an emergency C-section right then is because they basically like were on the edge. Like they thought the baby would be fine without the Cervidil. And so I was like, you know, I'm at your mercy here. I trust you. So of course I'm updating everyone, I'm texting everyone, all sorts of people are praying. My husband and my parents finally arrive and I tell them what went on, and they walk through the door and I burst out in tears and I'm like, where were you? This was the worst thing ever. I was like very dramatic. I was very torn up about that. So I tell them what's going on. My mother is like a prayer warrior. Okay, like you meet people who go to war and that's like their whole life or whatever, but this woman goes to war in her prayer closet. Like she can pray like unlike any other person I've ever met. So she has all these friends that are like her, you know, they all pray. So she sends out a text like, please pray for my daughter. There's a she's gonna have a C-section, the baby's not doing well. And I had all of my Bible study friends who were also praying for me here in Georgia. And somehow during the night, those prayers like started to create a miracle. Because here's what happened. The Cervidil somehow set my body into spontaneous labor. So during the night, I was having natural contractions and they were painful. And they were dilating me. At 3 a.m. I called my night nurse and I said, I'm in a lot of pain. Like, I think I'm dilating. Like, can you check me? At 3 a.m. I was maybe it wasn't 3 a.m. Maybe it was like 5. But 5 or 6, I don't know. It was something. I can't keep track of it. She checked my cervix and sure enough, I was dilating. I was 3 centimeters at that point. And she was watching the monitors the whole night and she said, honey, your baby is doing better than like anybody's baby out there. Like your baby is handling these contractions and I have a feeling that you're not gonna have a C-section. You don't need one. And I didn't even know what to think. I was just like, okay, well, whatever you guys think is best. Like I was just like still kind of zoned out, like thinking about my daughter, just hoping and praying and praying and praying and praying that she was okay and gonna get through this well and healthy. So shift change comes at 6 a.m. My nurse advocates for me. She says, please do not have KRISTEENA have a C-section. She's gonna have that baby naturally and vaginally. My doctor comes in to do my C-section, of course, and the nurse says what had happened throughout the night. First, my doctor checks my cervix to see how dilated I am. I am 4 centimeters dilated, still 70% effaced, and she says, her hand is like inside me, and she's like, we're gonna put you on the lowest dose of Pitocin and have this baby today, okay? And I was like, okay. And then she says to the nurse, can you hand me a hook? I'm gonna break her water. So this is 6:30 a.m. She broke my water. I was started on the smallest dose of Pitocin. And it was time for me to focus and have that baby. From 6:30 till about 9, just my husband was with me. Contractions started. Contractions are like waves of pain in your abdomen, and for me, they wrapped around to my back too, my abdomen and back. To me, they felt like really intense period cramps. I wouldn't even say they were like that intense until the very end. They weren't comfortable, you know? So when I was having the contractions at first with my husband, I had him doing like all sorts of stuff with me. I just tried like a lot of different pain management techniques. So I would have him count slowly, and that would remind me that the contraction would end, the pain would end. During the contractions, I always focused on breathing, just doing slow, controlled breathing in and out. And I also had my husband kind of distract me as best he could, either massaging my hands or putting his hands through my hair, just anything to distract me. One thing that I forgot to tell you guys is that since it was a high-risk situation, the baby had to be monitored continuously, I was not allowed to get out of bed. Like, not allowed to get out of bed. And even the positions that I was in were highly monitored. The baby would have like more mild decelerations where like the heart rate would go down to the 90s if I was in certain positions. So I usually had to be like kind of on my side. The baby could not handle me getting up and going to the bathroom. Like that would cause decelerations also. So I was not allowed to get out of bed. I had to go to the bathroom in a bedpan and I could not move at all. So there was absolutely nothing I could have done to speed up labor, like nothing whatsoever. So at 9 a.m. my parents came. I had my dad and my mom and my husband in the room while I delivered. When they came, I put on some worship music and I said, you guys just help me through these contractions. Just pray with me, distract me. Like, I'll tell you what I need. And they were great. They just basically, like, everyone just basically did exactly what I needed. And it was really awesome. One thing that really helped me is my mom would look at the monitor and she would tell me when I had hit the peak of the pain. And she would say, okay, honey, you're at the peak. Like, it's gonna get better now. You're gonna get a rest. Like, you're at the peak. So I kept laboring and the baby was handling it well. It was like truly a miracle. Like, everyone was in shock, and I was progressing like really quickly. At one point I felt like I felt like there was a lot of pressure. So I asked to be checked, and at that point I was a 7. Now, I'm sure I can't remember this completely correctly, but the last couple contractions I felt were really, like, I felt that they were very intense. I felt like I needed to throw up. I didn't throw up. I felt the pain was so strong that it was going to force me to throw up. This is how I knew that it was time to push. So I was getting to the most intense contraction I had ever felt, and then I felt something squirt down there, like squirt between my legs. And I felt extreme need to push. I made it very urgent. I yelled at my husband, go get the nurse, I need to push now. And so he went and he got the nurse, and he was a little bit perplexed because I wasn't describing everything. And he was like, how did you know that you were like fully dilated, that you needed to push? And I said, when you know, you know. Like, I mean, now I get that. You will know when you are 9.5, 10 centimeters dilated. Like, you will just know. So my nurse comes in, Laura, and she says, okay, let me check you. And she says, yep, you're 9.5 centimeters. You'll be 10, like you'll be 10 in the next contraction. Let's get ready to push. So I get up in my stirrups and I get all set up to push, and I start pushing. And I will tell you what, like, pushing for me felt like a break. It didn't hurt whatsoever. It was just a breeze. It was really nice. It felt great to push. It actually felt like a big relief. And I started pushing. She had called my doctor, but my doctor was just kind of taking her time. So Laura basically like got me through everything. I'm one of those people who, when I have pain, I just don't have any look on my face. I'm very stoic. And during all of the labor, everything, I never screamed. The only sounds I made were like low guttural, like, like, I can't even recreate it because I'm not in pain right now. I just was really focused on keeping my body relaxed, keeping my mind relaxed, and telling my body to relax, open up, and have the baby. Like, I was extremely focused because I knew that my baby was in distress and needed to be born ASAP, like as soon as possible. And my doctor comes in. My doctor came in for the very last push, and she was like, well, it looks like you need an episiotomy. And I was like, and she was like, is it okay if I give you an episiotomy? And I was just like, I don't care, like, whatever you want to do. Like, I'm like, I felt like, I'm at your mercy, woman. Just like, do what you need to do. Before she could even like possibly get ready, I did one more push, and the baby like flew out of me. Literally flew out of me. There was like fluids flying everywhere. Some squirted on my husband, and I watched him jump back. Like, he was just like in shock, like, whoa, what is this? It almost felt like immediately there was a little baby on top of my abdomen, and I was just staring at her, and she was screaming, loud screaming, and it gives me shivers because that scream was like the best sound ever when you just don't know how your baby's gonna be when she comes out. And she was screaming, and I loved it. And I looked down at her, and I was just in awe and shock, and I was like, this is surreal. This is my baby. and it was a really cool experience. It was really awesome. So we did delayed cord clamping, and my husband got to cut the cord. Then my placenta was delivered. My placenta was sent to pathology because my doctor said it looked a little bit weird. I don't know. I'm not sure if it did or not, and I haven't heard back like what was up with the placenta. I got a lot of different tears in different areas, and I was stitched up. I got 2nd degree tearing, and I did lose a lot of blood. My husband said that he didn't want to watch, but in the midst of it, he had to watch. Like, he said it was too amazing not to watch. And he said that the scariest thing was all the blood, like watching all the blood that it looked like I had lost. So he said that was like the whole scariest thing of the whole thing. Let me go grab Olivia. I think it's a little too hard for her to wake up right now. But this is my sweet girl, Olivia. She was born at 6 pounds, 12 ounces, 18 inches, 18 3/4 inches. Oh, look at you. My beautiful baby. I started the Pitocin at 6:30 a.m. and she came at 11:31 a.m. 5 hours of labor. She is one of the greatest gifts I've ever received. Other than knowing Jesus and knowing my husband, like, she's just awesome. Oh, look at this baby. She's too sleepy. Hi, Olivia. Are you gonna show everyone how alert and wonderful you are? I love you so much. I'm so glad you were born. So glad. This is my sweet baby girl. She was born with all this beautiful hair. And she's always been alert from the very beginning, right? You've always been looking around, listening. Overall, I feel that labor and delivery was better than I expected. Induction was not that bad. Having a natural birth without an epidural is totally manageable, even if you are on Pitocin. And I personally am so thankful that I did it because my baby reacted so badly to the Cervidil. I just do not know how she would react to an epidural, and I don't know how I would react. I'm a very sensitive person. If you enjoyed this birth story, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions for me, please post them below. I'd be happy to help in any way I can. Press subscribe if you're new here, and I will see you guys in the next video.
With you